I go up to him and I put my hand out. I'm like, hi, Mr. Butler, nice to meet you. And he grabs my arm and he, get these guys out of here. He's British, get these guys out of here. And I nearly just died right there. I went into panic mode. What Coachella does is, and it's in April, I really love, and I've actually met the band, is Psychedelic Furs. You know there?
Yeah.
So I grew up listening to them, and some years back I met them. Funny story actually, my buddy and I went up to the House of Blues in LA, and we went there early like in hopes of kind of catching their sound check, because we knew that if you snuck in the back during the day, you could check out their sound checks, So we snuck in during broad daylight. Sure enough, we walk in, they're getting set up, and they're going to be filming the whole thing for a DVD. So we're like, oh, this is so cool. Nobody noticed us. We walk in, nobody said anything. So we walk in and...
See, this is the tip for our listeners now. Now everybody's going to be doing that.
No, don't do this. This is a one...
This is only for Bob.
They probably shut this operation down after we did this. But we walk in and sure, we're standing there, we're watching, and sure enough, I look over and there's Richard Butler, who's the lead singer of Psychedelic Furs, and I'm just one of those crazy just moments, and he was wearing all black with like a pearl necklace and like total rock star, this guy. So I walk up to my friend Dave. I said, I'm sorry, I have to just go over and just say hi,
Yeah.
So I go over to, and the first time I saw Psychedelic Furs was 1987, So this is many years later. So we walk up and I go up to him and I put my hand out. I'm like, hi, Mr. Butler, nice to meet you. And he grabs my arm and he, get these guys out of here. He's British, get these guys out of here. And I nearly just died right there. I went into panic mode. And he goes, ha ha. And he starts laughing. He's like, I'm just kidding. He's like, nice to meet you. And he was so nice. He like invited us to stay. He said, come and watch the sound check. He said, what do you think of the lights? And he started talking with us. And we watched like 7 songs for the sound check.
Oh my God.
And then we started talking with him because back in the 87 we saw him in concert and he had these MC Hammer type pants on. And we just thought they were the coolest things at the time, even before MC Hammer had them. And we're like, what about those pants? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, that was a designer in New York. She was walking down the street and I told her I liked them and so she made him a pair, Things like that is just the craziest thing, so. But that was a good, I've met quite a few artists over the years too, and that's always fun for me is to meet some of the artists too, yeah.
Yeah, what a funny story, that's a riot.
Yeah.
And you never know what'll happen if you just go and walk up to somebody and say hello. You could have got kicked out, but he ended up being really cool.
Yeah, you just never know. I mean, we went on the Coachella cruise a couple years ago too.
Yeah, and that was tell us about that.
That was a really great experience. If they ever do another one, I highly recommend going on that. Tasting with James Murphy, and it was just like an amazing time. We we're like boarding the ship with sleigh bells basically. It was just like amazing. And Hot Chip's walking on at the time. I told my wife, I'm like, well, this is Hot Chip right here walking. And she just like, and she's a little bit more, she loves music but doesn't know what they look like as much. But I would point them out. We talked to all the bands and we went up and talked quite a while with Jarvis Cocker from Pulp, and he was super cool, took pictures and I'm a nerd when it comes to things like that. Just meeting people like that is a big deal. And especially James Murphy, who's from LCD Sound System, he's just like one of those musical geniuses, and just meeting him was a real treat,
Well, whenever you get an opportunity to meet somebody you admire, it's a thrill. For sure.
It is, yeah.
Especially somebody that you've been following their career, you admire their work, and it's like, yes.
Yeah, it is really cool. I don't go out of my way to meet people like that, but there was one time back in the day when my brother and I went to a Tin Machine concert. I remember Tin Machine in the 90s was David Bowie's side project he did.
Oh, wow.
He had another band in the 90s called Tin Machine. He was the front man. But it was David Bowie, basically. And so we went and saw Tin Machine at this place in LA. It was smaller. We had like 5th row from the stage, really close to David Bowie. He sung, and then he also would break out the saxophone and start busting out on the saxophone. He was having the time of his life. And totally at his prime, And after the show, we had some CD covers we wanted to get signed. We went around the back of the stadium, the arena, or whatever it was, and we walked up, and there was a limousine parked in front of the back door. And I said to my brother, oh, that's going to be it. So we started walking up, and sure enough, out the back door, about 10 feet away, comes David Bowie.
Wow, and
his bodyguard.
You were the only two that thought of this?
No one's around. I didn't kid. So we walk, and David Bowie walks out, and with his bodyguard. And so I said, David, and we started walking up. They throw him in the limousine and speed off like something out of a movie, like the tires are smoking, And I'm like, oh my gosh, we almost met David Bowie, but that was my claim to almost meeting David Bowie.
So that was a near miss.
I did meet David Lowery just recently. Went up and saw Camper Van Beethoven up in LA, which is another 80s, 90s group. And David Lowery also does Cracker. Got to meet him and the whole band. That was really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Grateful Dead. I mean, I've seen them at least 35 times.
At least 35 times.
So,
I've seen a few Grateful Dead.
I've seen a few Grateful Dead shows, I'm not gonna lie.
I went to that show at the Golden Bear.
Okay.
And it was in the 80s, the mid 80s.
Oh man, that would have been so great.
Well, what was really cool is that, the place is tiny.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, just 5 feet from him. And then Jerry Garcia shows up.
Oh my god.
I know. It's
Now you're just making me jealous. I mean, let's put a couple on, and I'd just like to give, play a couple if we could.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that way, I can talk a little bit about those too.
Okay.
Play that first one, and this one she's gonna put on right now is this. It's a new group, and they're called Jungle, Jungle. They're formed out of the EDM and acid house movement from England, and these guys are actually just got a really cool sound. I thought it'd be a cool song to play today. It's summertime, and the song's called The Heat. Okay. And they're going to be playing up at the Fonda in LA on Friday, September 19th, and the Belly Up on Saturday, September 20th. So they are a band that's actually coming to town. There you go. Okay. So it's a shout out to a band you're going to hear right now. They're going to be coming to town. So. Okay.
And I'm here with Bobby Wood, and we are listening to some great music and talking about music and concerts and so forth. Yeah. Bob, who is that you played for us?
We just segued from the Jungle into that other band that I'm going to put on called Washed Out. And it's basically an artist named Ernest Green that plays under the name Washed Out. When he plays live, he plays with the whole band, and they are so amazing live. I gotta tell you, if you have a chance to check them out, they were at Coachella this year, and they killed it. They were so good. They just have a really good breezy feeling to their music, and I really like that song especially. It reminds me of something out of like a John Hughes movie or something. He just has a really good 80s tinge feel to it. They're going to be playing actually. In October in California. They're going to be playing San Diego on the 16th, Santa Ana on the 17th, and up in San Francisco on the 18th and 19th. So if you have a chance, check them out. They're called Washed Out. Really cool band. Just totally recommend it. And again, it's not going to be one that's going to put you in the poorhouse. So it's like it'd probably be a fairly good price show that you'd be able to get into and enjoy. So
nice.